Hey guys, so we're heading into Monday tomorrow, and oil is coming out on fire right now. We were just saying that some of that is the Ukraine-Russia issue with the infrastructure and the bombing raids are kind of doing on each other. And we all know about the news with Trump with saying that the Ukraine can expand their bombing and potentially even getting tomahawks. We don't know that for sure yet, but also the in the broader news of the market, the oil that the Middle Eastern countries are going to produce, OPEC agreement, uh, they increased it, the amount of barrels, but they didn't increase it as much as the thinkers believe they need to increase it. So that is actually probably putting more pressure on oil than the infrastructure, because that wasn't unexpected, right? That was already sort of priced in, but this wasn't priced in. There was an expectation there would be a larger number of barrels produced than they said they would produce. So they did increase the production quota, but not as much as the talking heads seem to think they should have to meet the demand. So that's what's going on there, in my opinion. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's start with the Phat-plan. Bring it up and over. All right. So put this up there because we've got two things here. We've got uranium and we've got the robots. And I'm going to show you the chart so you can see where I get to that from. Let's look at Robo so you can see where I'm kind of heading with this. We'll start with the end and then bring it back to the beginning here with the Phat-plan and how I got to this point. But if you look at Robo, it's got a potential breakout here. Sort of the old Darvas box situation. Oh, that's not Darvas box. This is right there. So here's our high, and right there's our low. And we'll bring that over. Let me lighten that box up a little bit. A little too dark for everybody. That's not it. Background. Turn the color. There we go. So you can see it. So what we have here, we've got a high. Let me do it exactly like a Darvas box. Oh, I don't have my magnet on. That's why it's not clicking. There we go. All right, there. And let me check down here. Right there. So Darvas box theory. Okay. So looking at Darvas box theory, what we have right here on Robo, so this ETF with the AI robotics type stuff, here's your high, and then we went 1, 2, 3 without breaking that high, and then here's your low, then we went 1, 2, 3 without breaking that low. So we now have from here on out a Darvas box, if you will. And you can see on Friday the volume. So on a weekday in the market, if you look at the market on Friday, so there's SPX, red. QQQ had a really rough day, so that's probably closer related to Robo, right? So QQQ almost put in an outside bearish candle. That's an ugly candle on increasing volume, but not above average volume. But it is 2 days red in a row, a little bit slightly extended off the 1020 cloud, right? And then when you look again, so now this makes sense to you, go back to Robo and you see the strength in the Robo ETF on Friday, actually breaking the Darvas box and retesting that high. So this when you get into technicals. So right there, actually came down, tested that pivot level, that key pivot off the Darvas box, and then pushed back up. And this black candle represents a heavy volume close. And what that means is you have the actual close and the actual open were very close, tight together. I forget the percentage off the top of my head right now. And the volume is clearly much bigger. Sort of when you start thinking about whatever that lady is with the volume and price candles lady that everybody quotes on FinTwit. So Anna Cullen or whatever. So you have a heavy volume candle close, and that is more Bill O'Neill, William O'Neill IBD type structure. So this becomes a pivot candle is what I would call it. So above it and below it with price tomorrow is very key, depending on which it's going to set the trend. Below it and above it on volume will set it's sort of like an inside bar or any other pivot level, whichever way it closes. If it's on increased volume, that's a sign of that direction more than likely is the trend. So just watching Robo real close tomorrow and anything, of course, that is related to it. How we got there, let's just zoom in a little bit here. Talk about the week. So you can go back and read through this, but we all know that we had a really good week, but closed weak, no doubt about it. As far as a weekly close goes, we ended up closing weaker. You can see in there the different reasons. I tell people all the time, you should go back through, because what you think happened, you kind of get built up from Fintoid all week, and what actually happened, it's important to make sure that you know the difference. Sector sorted by check and money flow. I will note the XLU, which we've been talking about for a couple of weeks. Look at it right there on huge money flow volume. Looks great, and we nailed that one. But I sold, had NEE and alerted it, and was in heavy. And I just sometimes make mistakes. I sold it and went up 10% since then. I just made a mistake. It's just been a rough couple of weeks for me. Haven't really been nailing my trades. XLK, still the obvious leader, and you can see that with its volume versus everybody else. Not just recently by XLU, but when you look at XLK long term, look how much green we got above the zero line. I mean, just beautiful, healthy volume. It's the clear leader and clearly dominating the market right now. And then you go to RSP, and RSPT is number one still. So that's equal weight technology. Although we are seeing a decrease in the volume, this is a 2-month chart. With the daily check and money flow, and RSPU coming up there. What is concerning is part of that growth area is things like RSPC communications. I mean, just looks terrible right now. Charles Barkley, terrible on communications, no doubt about it. So want to see those growth areas all participating, and honestly, we're not seeing that right now by price when we look at his price, which we'll get to that. Earnings coming around the corner here, so we're going to start having some earnings are going to start to matter. Can they continue? Can these companies that are putting all this money into AI, you know, at what point do people want to start seeing results of that? I don't know if it's right now. That's not really my area, so I'll leave that to the others. Pros, deep view market themes. As far as the deep view market themes go, we have on the week, we had Bitcoin miners leading the way, genomics, Bitcoin, biotech, healthcare, and robotics. And you see that robotics is where I'm interested in, because some of those stocks had healthy pullbacks that we'll see, like Google, for example, is within that robotics theme, Avago. So anything, of course, semiconductor and then specialized semiconductors, but Avago is another one. Looking at Avago and Google, both is one of those areas. You'll see the setups tonight. Solar still hanging in there, so that's an area to look at too. I did not note how TAN did yet. Let's see how TAN is looking, if we can get a pullback in there. I know it had some up days last week. Yeah, we'll see a pullback. It's too strong right now, especially with President Trump's not real big on anything that's not oil related. So I want to be careful there. Good, more than likely, you know, we'll see a pullback there. But as part of the longer term trend, I mean, it's certainly going up. You can see that. Right, that's it on the themes. China internet still kind of sticking in there. Why I mentioned that, the reason why I mentioned the China internet, which is right here for the week at 1.31, but for the year it's 4th. And so we could easily see that come around. That would be one of these top 5 that didn't have the best week. Would be some China internet plays, and we have a couple of those set ups, I believe, as well tonight. So crypto, of course, dominating. You can read through the rest of that. Traders, Traders Lab, really starting to like this one. I did a couple weeks ago. You can go back and look if you don't understand how to read these spider charts, radar charts. You can go back and watch that. We discussed it in depth, but in the end, this volume adjusted. So the pink area is what you're looking for, and of course, you want to see it out here extended, level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out, and so that's why auto manufacturers is number one. If you look at the pink areas, you can see that this one is clearly dominating with the volume adjusted relative strength. And so this is a good one. And then over here, artificial intelligence, which is why I'm really interested in Robo, because it looks like it's wanting to break out on heavy volume, same thing there. And what we have right now is on the monthly, look at that relative strength adjusted volume. And we had a pullback right here on the relative strength monthly volume. And if you look at Google, Avago, now, they're pretty much all in setups. So I noted that as well in the Phat-plan just underneath this. Semiconductors, there's Avago again, of course, setting up. But if you note, the relative adjusted volume is not as strong right here on the month and the week. So that's why I'm liking this one right here. This is artificial intelligence, and of course, auto manufacturers, which pretty much means semiconductors. There's OUST is a big one that one of our pros has been in for quite some time now. I'm not sure if they're still in it. Again, you have to do your own due diligence on that, but I do know they alerted it and it went like, I mean, ridiculous amount higher. Quantum computing. So quantum computing, yeah, I'm kind of following the boat of, are we going to see a pullback here? I'm not saying I'm shorting them. I'm just look at the relative strength adjusted volume. It's not what you would expect to have seen from the quantum computing move relative to the price. And the natural resources, uh, you know, the fact that it's dwarfing the relative strength, the blue, is really good sign. So again, like you remember BE last week, I believe had an offering and then already filled it back up, filled the gap. Space exploration, same thing, had a strong week. So we've seen the beginning of another run from the space place. I know Katos had a really good week. Rocket Lab had a great Friday. So they finished strong. And that close is what matters in that week. Close Friday by the markets, but yet Rocket Lab, Katos, I believe Katos did finish strong. I know it had a really good week. Gold miners starting to see some weakness right here. And robotics, there you go. So look at Robo on the week. We did not get quite the relative strength adjusted volume that we would like to see, but the robotics hanging in there on the top 10. Again, that pullback with artificial intelligence looking strong right here. Robotics, as far as just relative strength, looking strong right here. I think that's the way to go, which again, that's been a common theme. These are the ones to look at for the artificial intelligence plays. CoreWeave, Avago, Now, and Google are all in setups. We'll look at those tonight. And on the rare earth metals, precious metals, we got uranium plays right here. CCJ, UEC, NXE, and URA all in low volume pullbacks. This is the 20 EMA or 20 simple moving average actually. And you can see where they're setting up. Look at that beautiful pullback right there. 20 simple moving average. That's probably a heavy volume candle right here. See that tight close? What is that, UEC? Let's check UEC as an example. I'll use on my other chart just because it'll be simpler for you. So UEC, it's not a heavy volume candle, but we did have above average volume, put in that upside reversal. I mean, you can't get much more pretty than that, guys. That's beautiful right there. Just love it right there through that high of the day. Puts it back through this earnings VWAP, still fresh after earnings. We did have some distribution and volume in there. So if, say, for example, CCJ gives me a better opportunity around the same time, I'll probably take CCJ. I think it's a little more of an institutional prize, longer term hold potentially. But it doesn't look as pretty, I will say, as UEC on the pullback. UEC looks a little, but you see how they're all in that 10-20 cloud structure area. It's kind of a popular word on FinTwit, just kind of that area. And it is, it's a good point. As long as that structure, as they say, maintains itself, meaning higher highs and higher lows. So here's a higher low right here. Here's a higher high. Here's a higher low. As long as that maintains, that's what they mean by structure. They mean this, higher lows. And it's going to have times of basing where it doesn't put in higher highs, and that's fine. The structure is still, so this could be a much longer base. We could be going right here, range bound right there, and that's what they mean, is the structure intact. So explosion, consolidation, and that's what you're seeing right there. Look at price tightening up right here. See those last 4 or 5, look from right here, close, 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 all tight right there. Nice tight area on low volume, and then again, could be range bound, come back, do it again. If it comes back, do we start see those slightly higher lows in the spacing areas and then take off? Let's finish up with Phat-plan. Site charts of note. I just love looking at this. This is a 5-minute chart on SPX, and you hear and read about how gaps tend to fill. Well, look right here. This is 5 minutes. So there's our open. We go down, come back up. Right there fills the gap. Look at this little baby open right here. A little bit higher off the close. There's our open, fills the gap, and then takes off. Here's our gap up, and look at that. Fills back. This 5-minute chart from last week on the S&P 500. Here's our gap down. There's our fill. Here's our gap up. There's our fill. Here's our gap up. There's our fill. And so you tie that into your trading, if you're a swing trader like me, with, okay, we gapped up more times than not, the gaps tend to fill. Now, you go back 2 weeks, if I roll this back, I think about 2 weeks ago, we gapped up, I want to say 3 days in a row, or 3 out of about 4 or 5 days, and continued higher. So that plan's not going to always work. But, you know, you're monitoring market conditions, and you're saying, are we going to break this high right here? I don't think so, off this gap up. So more than likely going to fill back, base out a little bit, and then take off. Well, here's where I want to look to swing long, right here. We're sitting on top of this little area right there. See if I drew a line right there across, and it just becomes a little key support level right there. newer Dow theory, not to get into the weeds too much, just know that RSP is a measure of breadth, and the QQE, the equal weight, is a measure of breadth, and it is just bullish as hell. I mean, it's beautiful, just taking off, beautiful, amazing. It means growth stocks is what we're looking for, not value. TNX, we came and filled this gap, and gaps tend to fill. There you go, and rejected, and a hard rejection off of for the 10-year. Gold, really going to be keeping an eye on this. Curious to see what happens. So that's Dixie in the top half dollar. And I'll alert it when we do break that trend line. When we do, that could be potentially a sign. It doesn't mean gold has to pull back, but it has been an area for gold to pull back because that'll be a pretty good sized trend line break. I know it's popular in FinTwit to talk about horizontal lines right now are more powerful. That's always been that way. I mean, just some people use descending trend lines and don't know that, I guess, but that the descending trend lines are not as effective as a horizontal box break because that's a basing area. I mean, something's in a decline. It's going to take, more time. It generally is going to pull back and test. I mean, because it's been in a decline. It's been putting in lower lows and lower highs. But so right now we're kind of basing sideways, and then that trend line break would be sort of a tip. We could see at least a pullback in gold. It comes down to whether or not you believe what you believe the price of gold is being driven by right now. Is it China buying? Is it inflation? Is it a hedge? Is it the dollar? Depends on what, we just watch to see how gold reacts to it when that happens. It doesn't mean we just buy. SPY, just bullish as hell. Look at all the volume right there, just really good, strong. SPY chart, deep view market trend analysis. Last week, we didn't even turn yellow. We've been able to get the moving averages to bend down a little bit, the early ones, your 1020s. Last week, the 1020 didn't even blink. It was just like, yeah, we're pulling back and we're going higher. Weekly relative rotation graph. XLV coming on strong. You probably saw that move this week in price in XLV. So if you're looking at tech stocks that are too extended, health is a good area to look towards. I will say right here, a little sneaky Pete, XLE, kind of sticking in there, trying to make that cross into improving. And as we're seeing from WTI tonight, that could be the next one. And then what you would have is you would have health, energy, and XLU would be your next one, which would be sort of a defensive, dare I say, rotation or movement. I know rotation is a bad word. There's some type of broadening to XLV, XLE, and XLU, which would imply a little bit of movement into, look right here, as XLP is coming up, potential defensive exploration. Before we look further at the S&P 500, let's look at the offensive versus defensive chart. And I will say we have a slight, pullback or basing, maybe potentially an ascending setting up right there, maybe a descending wedge setting up right here even. But right now it's just higher highs and higher lows. Structure, quote unquote, is still intact. You'd have to break right here below that to say that that is potentially a structure break on the RSPD. It just needs some time. I mean, it was a hell of a move up here, but it is currently struggling at its own highs. And then same thing back here with XLP. I mean, this was a big move through this high right here. It would make sense that it would want to do a little rest. I mean, it deserves a rest, the growth section. Growth versus SPY. XLK, I mean, exactly what we were just saying, to pop through these highs right here, this is versus SPY. XLK just taking a little break, pulling back to a key level. Nothing wrong with that until we would break this low right here. It could easily fall back through this line. That's not a problem. It would just be right here. We don't want to see it break this higher low, and especially this one, of course. And then XLC, a little concerning. I got to say, we broke a higher low right here. That's a clear higher low, in my opinion, with the XLC versus SPY. So I'm, Meta obviously kind of leading that struggle. And then down here, consumer discretionary, Amazon struggling a little bit. And we pretty much broke this basing area. Depends how you want to draw the rectangle, but I mean, we're definitely going below the higher lows here on XLC and XLY. So, something to keep eyes on. Value versus SPY. XLI just kind of made a little trend line here. Looks like we're following. Don't want to see it break below it like we did here. And then over here on materials, trying to turn up, but nothing yet. And the same thing on energy, trying to hold this little descending wedge. Some people call it like a dog, like on all fours, leaning down, that kind of thing. But right now, kind of range bound in this little triangle descending wedge going down. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Defensive versus SPY. So XLU had this ascending trend line. Looks like it could either break into this range or we could fail tomorrow. So this will definitely be something to watch. Not a whole lot of XLU plays are looking real strong, but NEE is leading the way right now. Consumer, I'm long GEV, so I'd like to see a little movement there. Consumer staples, just weak. Put in another lower low, and real estate put in another lower low. I'm just weak. That's all there is to that. So those are the takeaways. And then I'm struggling, like I said, just started fading back a little bit, and you just got to keep it light until you see improvement, and then you start going in a little heavier. Just made some mistakes. All right, let's go ahead and look at our relative rotation graphs. Let me bring those up. Let's check our ETFs. We'll start with ARC family. Roll through those, and then we'll get setups for the night. So we got XBI coming across into the leading quadrant. So that's a positive for XBI. I mean, I'm sure you saw XBI having a really good week. Let me bring it up for you. So we noted that last week that we could be potentially crossing over. And obviously now at this point, for my style, I need a low volume pullback, get in there. So it's proven itself, stage 2 move, Sam Weinstein stage 2 move. And then this little pivot candle, like we were talking about earlier, let it pull back, find a buy to get in. Oh, just got rid of everybody. Huh. There it is. The rest of the ARC family going down in there, ARC Genomics. So again, the bios, medical type stuff looking good. And who is that hiding in there? So that is IDNA. So same stuff, right? So bio stuff, biotech. Yeah. So biotech really showing strong stuff right there. No doubt about it. If they always pull back, we do have a biotech or two on there tonight. So there is still some plays, so don't chase anything. Wait for those, or in my case, wait for those low volume pullbacks. Technology, I buy with the turn down. That was a little disappointing. So we had a failed move basically from, I thought Etsy was going to lead the way, had a 13% move on Monday. I did not buy it. I had some other stuff going on, so I wasn't able to get in it. Unfortunately, it would have changed my week, but it did fade back, and so did I buy. Drive still looking good. So again, getting with the Robo AI stuff, looking great. Everything else taking a little dip. There's no doubt about it. Everything else taking a dip. So it really looks like the Robo and iDrive right there. These guys right here. See how it's a technical counterclockwise turn. That's a sign of strength. See how it's going this way? Relative strength is over here. If anybody doesn't know, this relative strength to the right is more relative strength. Up is more price momentum. And what you're seeing right here is a pullback on the price, which is what we wanted. And on some of these plays, you're going to see tonight in setups and relative strength. And that's similar to what we saw on the spider chart, correct? So that's what we want. And then drive, of course. So the AI connected robot theme is looking like a potential. Energy and commodities. So we talked about this last week as well. XLE starting to poke its head across that improving quadrant. So we might look at the 2X or 3X for energy for Monday, and then ERX, a decent move. OIH had actually led the move and dipped down, and then now back looking, trying to head towards, see that relative strength. See how it's moving to the right slightly, that counterclockwise move instead of a clockwise move. It's moving counterclockwise at this point, and that's a very good sign of strength. Silver and gold miners still looking good. Look at gold fixing to GLD fixing to cross. I mean, it could be a long way to go. Look at XOP, XLO. Look at energy and oil plays starting to really show up. USO hadn't made the turn yet. That's direct WTI, but XOP right here, oil and gas. So natural gas, and everybody's starting to see some movement there from energy. Getting a little excited. Financials, pretty weak, although. You grab a sip of wine. So your pay services, so maybe PayPal. I looked at PayPal. You know, it's in a Sam Weinstein stage 4 right now, but it's got a chance. Some of your I put that in the fat notes that the online payment services and processors, those are actually doing good. So look towards those guys. But the XLF, the big boys, the banks, like JP Morgan and whatnot, they're struggling, but like Visa, MasterCard were doing good. So your online pay services and all that, those guys are looking good. So of course your tech ones. That's about it. Everything else not looking too good. ITB with a disappointing drop. Doesn't, I mean, the relative strength is coming this way with a potential counterclockwise move, so something to keep an eye on there, but not really showing us anything yet. Consumer discretionary, a little disappointing. TAN, relative strength, good to see. We noted TAN earlier. RTH crossing over, Vanek retail, but no velocity. So we'll see that velocity we always talk about. See, we're not seeing it. Look at XLC. Let's zoom in on that. Oh, that's nice. Didn't get the velocity, but that's a good sign for XLC that currently is struggling. Maybe some hope there. XLC. Yeah, hanging that 20. So we got two closes below the, really three closes below the 20 EMA. Momentum's dropping. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if it can rebound, reclaim that. We'll see it reclaim and then, pop through, put in a low volume pullback and then enter. Right now, it's getting a little distribution volume in there. That relative strength line is turned down. That's not for me right now. All right, so that's our relative rotation graph. Let's go ahead and move over to our setups for tomorrow. This guy over here. This guy over here. All right, so let's see what we got. DV's still a little glitchy on me. I didn't know they still had so many people wanting to be in it. They're having to limit, on how they're. So I saw somebody on Twitter talking about when they were going to get an invite or whatever. Like, man, get your glitches fixed before you start blocking people from joining. All right, so not a whole lot of setups, which traditionally, done not every time, but usually means it's not good. Usually you want to see a plethora of setups and these low volume pullbacks. But the good thing is when that happens, you can isolate and you can see that we do have UEC, for example, with the uranium bunch. And what I like is when I work my way there through the Phat-plan before I ever run this scan. And then when I run it and I see them matching up, like Google with the AI plays, then I'm like, oh yeah. So we got something there. So Google, I always play the GOOGL ticker for me as a swing trader. That's the better one. So what we have is we have a 0 RMV, relative measured volatility is tight. You can go watch the Richard Moglen videos on that. And you can see a very clear delineation right there through that 247.64 on intraday volume is a beautiful spot to buy Google. So if we gap up overnight, play the pullback to the 1020 cloud intraday, but that looks really good right there. Low volume pullback. So Google is definitely on the list. MIRM. So there's our bio play. We have a low volume pullback. Not a big fan of this red volume, but we have a low volume pullback and a bio play. And MIRM. Yeah, rare and orphan diseases. So I think this one is actually targeted towards some children and yeah, approved pediatric stuff. And as we know, there was a big push by Trump for that kind of stuff. So I think we got an opportunity here. I just use smaller sizing on the bio play, so keeping it on the list. There's Google. Let me switch that out with this one. And then UEC, low volume pullback. I already talked about the uranium play, so liking that right there. Looks good. I like it structurally. It's got that nice flag back look to it right there, just smooth. Volume could be a little smoother, but looks like they're accumulating on the dips down. Coop. So Coop is one that I've never actually, I don't think bought, but I've just seen over and over again. And it's non-bank servicer residential mortgage. And like I said, the financials are struggling, but it's actually got its hands on a couple of different areas. So you have to look it up, see what all it does, but I'm going to put it on there. Even though it's a little bit sloppy down here, because we have so few setups here, I'm going to go ahead and keep it on there. MOD, I love it when they get pushed up like that 2 times in a row, relative measured volatility of 0, and I love the dry up volume. This is a perfect setup, and this is an AI connected play. They help build those places, is what I remember from reading. So yeah, heat transfer products, round tube plate, fin construction, gas fired, hydronic, electric equipment, and all that good stuff. So they're part of the AI infrastructure build, and that's right in that area we want to look for. And then BZ, that's China play. So BZ, online recruitment services for people of China. And like I said, it's fourth on the year right now with the themes. So definitely like this nice low volume pullback. It's got this little basing area right here. Looks like we're building a potential cup with handle area. So just want to ride that right side up. You can see the volume pattern change. It'll be a short base, but that's not unexpected with something that has moved this far. Let's see what we're talking about here. 30% move, which is a classic, and that's sort of part of my scan that I keep proprietary. But so it's got that 30% move in it, and then there's your pullback. Now, William O'Neill talks about that's IBD theory: 30% move up, consolidate, and explosions. We're at the bottom of a potential range right here. We ride it through this hammer bar that closed in the top half of this wick up here in the top of this wick. It's all bullish signs. Increased volume through all of these are through the high of the day right here. You can see that area out there. Again, that relative measured, that all ties in that relative measured volatility of 0, right? Here it's 8, excuse me, it's tight. RMV is tight. It's not below 5 is where I like to see it, but you see that line right there through that hot hammer bar on intraday volume. And then we go back and test that pivot right there from the prior high, 7% move. EQX, gold play. So we got a gold play and a low volume pullback. With the RMV of 0. So there's my first gold play I've seen set up in a while. And then PI and C, I'm not sure what's going on with that. So we'll take these right here and we'll put them on Perplexity. So I can add a comma to them. And then I stole from a guy on Twitter. He posted it for everybody, what you can do with these guys. So like when you don't know what they are. So when you don't know what they are, I forgot where I put it. I'll find it. I'll show you all at the end. But basically, it gives you a better description, because what you find is even though they do a great job right here and allow you to read through what it is, you want to know if they're AI connected, for example. And Perplexity can do that for you. And I'll show you at the end. Sure wish I could give the guy credit. I forget who it is on FinTwit that said that. Basically gave me the prompt to put in there to make mine a little cleaner than it was before. All right, let's look at our Stock Talk Insider plays that are in low volume setups. All right, and like I said, it looks like we've got some new people, so I'll make my same speech that I do every week. After I get a sip of wine. So these were listed by pros at some point in their journal, and I don't know if they're still playing them or not. You have to go back and do your own due diligence and see if they are. What I've done is just as they list them, point them out. If I like them, it's not every one that they've done. I put them on the list, and when they're in low volume setups, I play them potentially. And right here, you can see HII. I mean, you've heard Stock Talk Weekly talk about this as far as shipbuilders and whatnot, but go back and see what he said. See if he's still interested in it. See if he's still holding it. I don't know. I think he is holding it right now, but go back and look at it. So relative strength is beautiful right here. Low volume pullback after positive news. We heard that they're going to build like X number more ships or whatever, and we don't know that HII is going to get the contract, but it would make sense that they would get some kind of a bounce from it. So here was that day. They got the push. This was in the afternoon. I remember they made the announcement. Then we flared up, pulled back. So everybody chased up in here. Stock Talk Weekly laughed, and then now it is pulled back. And it's in a low volume pullback. So through that high of the day on intraday volume, through around 286.26, and then on the new highs would be the expectation. So yes, definitely staying on there. It's a little bit higher off than I want to see it. GSRT was a SPAC, and well, still is a SPAC, but it came out of whatever they call it. And so now I'm actually holding it. I rode that whole bitch Friday. I just watched it, and you play with the right sizing, you can do that. But we'll see how it goes tomorrow. So I may add to it. Google already on the list. PPSI, so battery connected play, which if you go back to our Traders Lab, right now lithium and battery is number 2 out of 10, top 10 on their ETF tracker. So looking good. Nice low volume pullback. Not the prettiest candle, but through that high of the day, you can see the low volume, the pullback. You can see the RMV is tight, level 4. So through that high of the day on intraday volume, might be a little extended for me at the time. I might take an early entry. FLGT, genetics play, and we know that genetics are hot right now. We saw the ETFs. We looked at the relative rotation graph, and we saw them pushing out. So again, here's a volume dry up. Here's a low volume pullback again through the high of the day on intraday volume. Again, not the prettiest candle. I might take a quick entry on that early entry. I said quick because I saw the word quick. RMV of 0 on quick right now. Logic, again, go back and read, see what the pros say about it. But I like the way it's basing right there. So here's our explosion. There's our basing, and then explosion higher. We are underneath the 200-day moving average. So these kind of plays I tend to play smaller sizing. CCJ looking good. We already talked about uranium. I love the way it's looking here. Double upside reversals, relative strength looking good, nice and tight RMV. And this is a good one to get in right there. Looks really good. Probably my favorite looking one right now. Again, like I said, because more of a longer term play potentially too. VPG, again, good looking RMV 0 and low volume pullback. This one's almost perfect. It's almost a double inside day. It is in a coil right here. I mean, that looks good. If you don't know, if you're not familiar with the coil. So right off that 10-20 cloud is where I tell people I really like to see them nice and tight. And there it is, nice and tight off that 10-20 cloud. That's where I want to see them after their first move higher. ELF, discretionary, struggling a little bit right now, but this is a leader in that area. It is resting off this prior pivot area. Earnings coming up when doesn't have it on here, but it's going to be not far around the corner. I'm going to put it on the list. We'll check it. And then Microsoft. Yeah, inside day, low volume pullback at the spacing area. Nothing wrong with it. Good volume pattern change. Starting to show. Might be a little early on that one. We got in it a little while back, did pretty good, and then last week as well. BRY, we use the 2X MSFL and got a couple percent off of it. I mean, it was all right, make a little money. BRY, so an oil play, and we saw the oil move. So we got a nice explosion. This must have been some news. Probably one of our pros alerted here and made good money on it, and then now it's pulling back. So again, you got to go back and read and see what all's going on. But you can see where it's holding right here on the earnings or news gap right there. Something like that. You get the point right there. So holding that area right there off the low from the gap up. Keep that one on there. And we now have an oil play with oil apparently overnight looking strong. Lift, true low volume pullback, inside bar. There's your low volume. Put in inside day. Nothing wrong with it right there. Definitely on the list. Avago, beautiful low volume pullback. Very beautiful. Inside day, low volume. That thing's going to make a move higher or lower one way or the other, and I want to be a part of it. SNDX, yeah, beautiful, huge volume. Came up. Now price starting to finally tighten up a little bit of an indecision inside bar on Friday. But remember, Friday was a market pullback day, so our red day in Qs, and we saw good relative strength right there by SNDX. See the relative strength line? See how it's holding up on price. And then NXE, another uranium play, right off the 20 EMA. Yes, please. Look at that big, beautiful volume right there. And then ANET, we'll take it. Since we're taking everybody tonight, we'll take them too. OKTA, no, we don't. All right, so we copy those right there and put them right here. Add a comma. And if you hear any noise in the background, I think my wife turned the TV on. That's fine. Let's see here. So we got, and my dog's coming at me. Got a few things going on here. There you go, dog. Go find her. All right, let's add these guys on. We move these guys over. And let's see how WTI is doing here before I move over. Oh, yeah, looking strong tonight, working in that coil right there. Good. All right, let's move that down. Get our double screen going. I'll explain this for any new people so you get an idea of what we're looking at. And create new list. So 10, 65 setups. That's futures looking. Rep supply. Drop a little bit. We watch it all the time. This time of night, we always laugh. Everybody gets excited to point out that futures don't matter. I enjoy watching them. Let's see here. And oh, there it is. All right, here we go. I'm going to copy it here. So what I like to do, and so why do you sort of separate them? I don't want them to mix, so I like them in a row. So these are from my scan. These are the ones that I know have the liquidity and all the different metrics that I need right there. I'm going in heavy on these guys. And then the other ones are the pros from our Discord alerts. And so I'll put those in right there. Oh, I forgot to add a comma. Nope, I forgot to copy the comma. Here we go. There we go. And that way I kind of have a general idea in terms of the order. Now, some of them, so like Google, for example, is going to stay at the top of the list, and it was on the pros list, but that's okay. What I know is that top half, that top group is my group that those are the ones that I'm tracking, that I found that I'm ready to rock on and bring to money. MIRM was a biotech play. Sip of wine. Too much distribution in there. And knowing that the XBI has been moving, I'm a little cautious. But then when I see the highest volume ever, which is that cyan color right there, so two highest volume evers, and then the 5 days flat, that's that red. So when you're looking at my chart, looks like I said we had a few new people. So let me just kind of, so what you're looking at here is a 10-20 cloud. This is the 10, this is the 20. When it's red, obviously when it flips red, then the 10 is down here on the bottom, the 20 is on top, and red means caution, of course. So just basic common sense type colors. And let me blow it up bigger. The earnings VWAP, I'm a huge proponent of the earnings VWAP trading. And so here's the earnings VWAP. We have a rising earnings VWAP. That's on all my charts. This is the 50 EMA in green. Easy for me to see. This is the 30-week moving average. This is the 200-day EMA. I prefer the faster one on that. That's just me. Sometimes I screw up and I'll reload it and it'll be SMA, and that's okay. And then down here, this is my own personal relative rotation histogram showing momentum. As you can see, momentum is fading, and that pretty much pins it for me to leave it alone. But again, XBI is so strong, and I want to say that this has got a lot of pediatric stuff in it. And the highest volume within the year, and these other big skyscraper volume, as you call it, kind of contradicts this distribution volume. I'm kind of 50-50 on keeping it or leaving it. I'm gonna leave it for now. We don't have to buy it. We don't have to buy it in size. Google, I love, looks great. Low volume pullback right here looks really good. Just to show you on Google. So when we're looking at both these charts, this again is the daily 10-20 cloud. I have it. It's for free on TradingView. It'll show on any intraday chart. So that's 10-20 cloud. You can see it's getting tighter as it's going. I want to see it rising just like this. And here is the 5-day moving average from Hiko that I use. I've got my own now, but I just use his out of respect, just because good luck or whatever. So this is the 5-day moving average. And then when it turns purple, that means it's starting to trend up on a 12-minute time frame. And you can see right now it's declining. So we want to see that flatten out. And we may see Google come back and test this area again. You can see where it's sort of, I've been tracking, it's sort of forming a key level right in here around 240, and just see that 5-day smooth out. All right, let's go back to double screen here. So that's what we're looking at. We're trying to find, like right here immediately when I see that 5-day arcing over like that, I don't like it. I don't like this declining earnings VWAP. You can see it all up here. And I don't like this distribution volume. So there's a couple of things I don't like on this one, but it's UEC and it's a hot area, so I'm gonna leave it on there. Again, doesn't mean I have to play it. Coop. That's weird. Something's wrong with the chart. Just take it off. Wasn't big on that one anyway in financials. MOD, so AI infrastructure play. A little bit of distribution on the pullback. Could have been some news here. I'm not sure. Again, you can just type that into Perplexity and find out. But I will note that it put an inside bar right off that 50 EMA, and institutions push price back up. It is on low volume though. So could we come back down and test that earnings VWAP again? Yes. But I'm going to keep it on there because that 5-day is beautiful. I love it when they get those nice smooth turns up. So just coming right back in, that 5-day is smoking hot. And you've got so what we have is the 5-day and the 10-20 cloud with price tight right here. And that's what we want to see. When you get the 50 right there, that's even better. But this earnings VWAP rising, 5-day smoking hot, 10-20 cloud tight to it with price. It's just tight enough. We're through that high of the day on intraday volume. We can play it. Would like it to be a little more in here. Wouldn't hurt my feelings if it pulled back in the morning. If we had a gap down and it pulled back into it, I'd buy it right off there, a little early entry. BZ. So this is that China play we were looking at. I don't like this right here. My relative rotation histogram is showing weakening momentum. You can see the 10-20 cloud is in a decline and has actually just flipped red. So frankly, I'm going to take it off because China plays scare me anyway. And I always end up using smaller sizing just to the fact that it's China and you don't know what they're going to do or what Trump's going to do. So EQX, gold play, low volume pullback, bit of sizing here on the distribution volume. So big candle, big volume. That's not good. 5-day starting to turn over. I'm going to hold off on that one. I'd rather just play GDX or Nugget long. HII. That's pretty. So again, 5 days rising, 10-20 cloud rising. See how it's rising on the daily right there. 5-day rising, earnings VWAP rising, 50-day rising. Could it get a little tighter? Maybe, but looks good through that high of the day on intraday volume. I got no problem playing it. A little slightly extended. GSRT, potential opportunity here. Just going to leave it on there. Would like to play it with that 5-day rising. It's not yet. It's not on the top of my list to buy. I'm already long. PPSI, losing momentum. First thing I see right there. Yeah. Volume is lacking since the earlier days. Just losing momentum right there. I'm gonna take it off. Even though I know lithium batteries, it's just there's not a lot of setups there tonight, right? But Google looks really good, and I think Avago does too. FLGT. Nothing wrong with it, but it's not overwhelming volume. What I'm looking at on there, I'm gonna take it off. Hate to say that. Quick. Nope, don't like that volume. Is in the handle though. So we have a little volume dry up here. You know, through that high of the day, am I going to buy it right there? I don't think so. Boy, I like that 50 tight though. I'll leave it on there. Might take an early entry. See, these wicks kind of throw me off, these high wicks. You got to end up taking an early entry off the 5-day. So like this through this level right here, off this close, ends up being your entry, little cheat entry. I mean, it's got a nice cup with handle look to it. There's flaws in it though. I mean, it's not the best looking cup with handle. CCJ, you know, it's the kind of thing if the market's shaky, you just don't play it. CCJ, I want to see that 5. It's trying to turn up right here. I do like that we're reasonably tight, and through that high of the day is a good spot to play it. Just don't know if price has had enough time to really solidify it. So some tight closes in here though. We keep it on there, but not real excited about the way it looks really. A lot of red on the price. BPG, good volume dry up. Momentum starting to turn down though. Take it off. ELF, a little bit out of left park right here on ELF. Momentum turning down. Weak ass close. Look at that close Friday. No, sir. No, thank you. See how we're starting to whittle them down. Microsoft. So what we're really seeing now is Microsoft, Google, and Avago. Big boys looking good, right? So that wouldn't be surprising. We see a little bit of a market pullback and they flood into the large caps, right? Which is what they tend to do is for sort of the final part. Instead of so much riding into the defensives, they tend to ride into the Mag 7. And Microsoft and Avago and what was the other one named? Have been holding up, and Google have been holding up better than Meta and Tesla, frankly, the last couple of days, and some of the other big boys. So when you're looking at it, this could be they're showing good relative strength, right? Look at that volume right here. And my momentum indicator is strong. I mean, that's nice and tight on Microsoft. That 5-day, tight off the 10-day, off this higher high VWAP. Look at this right there. There's your higher high VWAP. We're holding it. There's a lot of good to like there on Microsoft. BRY, oil play for tomorrow. I like it. We got highest volume ever. We had obviously news. I'll go back and look later, see what that news was. And we got an inside bar, nice and smooth through. See how tight we are, the 1020 cloud right here. So right through that high of the day is going to have us. And you said, well, fat, the 5 days trending down. Yes, but oil, it's different, right? I mean, if oil is going to go up, so if oil's green tomorrow or through yesterday's high and all that, or through that mini coil you saw it was setting up, if it holds overnight, in other words, yeah. So if we end up somewhere, if we're pushing $62 or something like that, I mean, it's gonna push oil higher. But if we're holding somewhere above this high from yesterday, up in here in this midpoint of this coil, somewhere around $61, anywhere around what about 61.2 to about realistically 62, somewhere in that area, 61 to $62. It's not going to gap up too high, and it'll allow us a chance to get in a solid looking oil play with BRY, Berry Corporation. It's a small cap too, 382. So look how Berry did it. Gapped up, hit that 20% profit zone. Institutions took profit, came back down to the earnings VWAP, which is rising right there, met it right there and bounced off of it. So yeah, use the momentum of oil, sort of overrides the 5 day, if you will. Lift, very smooth. I like seeing this one because we're not seeing a lot of smooth ones tonight. This one, nice inside bar on lift, nice easy play. And again, kind of, staying with the auto theme, which is number one right now, but I know that's more semiconductor related and all that. And I know lift isn't, but good discretionary play. It's good, healthy volume. It's a leader, put it that way. Avago. So the volume was terrible and it needed time to repair. So there's a lot of distribution off that move up. And then now it's had time. And you can see how the volume pattern change. Now, I don't like this at all. I'm leaving it on there because the 5 day and the 1020 cloud are tight, but we are below the declining earnings VWAP right now, and that usually is a caution sign for me. But I'm leaving it on there because it's one of the strongest themes and sectors according to Traders Lab and Deep View. And then now we have SNDX. So we have our bio play. We took the other one off. This one was green on the left side off the flag. So I had this huge flag it's been putting in. And then now inside bar. So yeah, through that high of the day right there, we put it out of this range right here. So we pop through this high right here. We get above this range of price. And we've got room back to the top of the range. So that would be from there. That would be about an 8-9% move. So we've got an 8% move. We got the 5 day and 10 day. We got all this tight and 5 days turned up. Yeah, through the high of the day on intraday volume. Nothing wrong with it. In a sector that's improving, and that relative rotation histogram is as well. It's still negative, but it's improving. NXE, uranium play. 5 days definitely turned down. No doubt about it, but that volume is incredibly strong. So that's worth a watch for tomorrow. We'd like it to be towards the end of the day, give this 5 day time to flatten out. Every time I enter early on those 5 days turn down, it burns me. Inevitably, it pulls back. ANET, a little bit of distribution volume in there. Could be some signs of joining some of those other leaders that have been fading back. So kind of one to watch. You can see my relative rotation histogram has it coming back. I'm going to leave it on the list. So probably the most we've had in a while that I said I'm going to leave it on the list. So let's flip through these. So what we've got is MIRM, I'm just gonna say weak or strong, and just it looks weak. Google looks strong. I like Google. UEC looks weak. I don't like that distribution volume. MOD. I don't like it as much as Google. Right now, Google's the only one. HII, I like it. Google, HII. I'll write them down, may go back and cut the others just to get them off my screen. Google, HII, looking good. GSRT, got the distribution volume in there, weak. Quick, weak. Don't like those high candles. CCJ, almost just missed on the inside bar. I'm gonna call it strong. I like that volume over here. It just just basing a little higher, almost base on base setting up right here. Nothing wrong with it. CCJ, I'm gonna write it down. Microsoft, I like it a lot. Looks good. Again, Microsoft and Google, two best looking ones, and HII. BRY, I like it. We got the oil as support, and it's our only oil play showing. You know, you can always buy something like Gush or Exxon, or the 2X for Exxon, which is XOM, can't remember. And then Lyft looks good. Lyft looks strong as well. Avago, I mean, it looks weak. And I've got concerns that Trump doesn't like him, so to speak. I shouldn't be speaking out loud on some subjects I don't know about, but I think Nvidia sort of is paying to play, so to speak, and better positioned as far as things in America and how to make that happen. I think Avago, from what I understand, has a little more of a TSM connection or whatnot. And I could be completely wrong on that. That's not my area, but it looks like it's showing in price as well. SNDX, when you think about how Nvidia did last week, SNDX looks weak. NXE, I like it. Looks good. So that's my uranium connection through NXE. I think that's probably the best looking one. And then ANET looks weak. So for me, it's Google, HII, CCJ, Microsoft, BRY, Lyft, and NXE. Those are the top 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for me. I'll probably go back and cut the rest of those off. Just want to look at them a little more. And then, what was it? So show you this before we leave. See if I can find it. Home, and then bookmarks. Good. I think I bookmarked it so I could show y'all. It's not showing it. Did I not bookmark it? And I want to show y'all that with the tickers. I thought I bookmarked it. Graph TD, I don't even know what that means. Start edge setup. That's not it. Home, summarize and visualize. Okay. Oh, that's not it. Scan my list. No. Home. Please analyze. There it is. I found it. All right. Here it is. This is what I want to show you. So you can take these guys right here, and let me flip screens here. Okay. Put this over here. All right. Not to overcomplicate it, but so please analyze. So this is the prompt. Oh, show more. So this is the prompt, and I'll try to find the guy on Twitter and give him credit on Twitter. So like that. Yeah, I copied the whole thing from the composite. Yeah. So this is where he was explaining how to use it on comma. But basically take that and then do this with it. Put it right there in there. It's your word prompt. And I know for you super technical guys, you know, this is nothing new for you, but I like the prompt wording. I like this guy. I got a respect for him, and he put in there. And then I'm gonna put in the tickers, M, Google, UEC, MOD, HII, GSRT. Quick, and I'll post this in my journal if you want to copy the prompt. CCJ, MSFT, BRY, LYFT, AVGO, and it does it pretty quick. NXE, ANET. All right, and then click enter like that, and then it's going to roll through it. And I think it's pretty neat how it puts it out for you. And like I said, what the advantage is that unlike in say TradingView, which is just broad, right? It's just telling you what sector it's in and a few words about it. But these companies are morphing so fast. And a great example being the crypto companies that are now being used as sort of AI infrastructure as dual purpose type thing. That'll be in here, that kind of stuff. So, for example, MIRM makes medicine for rare liver disease, especially in kids. See, that's what I was talking about earlier, especially in kids. And you know that Trump just said things. So there may be, that's why you kind of leave that one on there, because there's been a character change in the environment. Not so much a stock yet. We haven't seen that. And tells you about what it does, professional summary, and then post-event technicals. And up here, I mean, you can understand it for yourself, but just upcoming catalysts in the next 30 days, which is huge, the pipeline with the drug companies, to know if anything's happening this week. If earnings was coming this week, it would tell you. And then Google, you understand what Google does, a lot of what Google does, but UEC, here's your uranium one, mines uranium from the ground. So it explains to you as a uranium company what it does. Does it process it? Does it dig it out of the ground? That sort of thing. When I ask you like your 10 professional summary, which is more what you would see on, say, FinViz. And then it says it recently posted a sharp rise in sales, but steep ongoing losses, net loss, negative margin of 100 minus 131%. So the balance sheet is solid, high current ratio, cash rich, but profitability remains a concern. So you're able to get a really nice, easy summary, especially the ones that maybe you don't know what they do in this sort of world that we live in right now. With these tech stocks. So just did that for you, and it'll do the rest if you want. It learns to sort of read you, and so it asks me if I want the rest of them, that type of thing. But you get the point. That's it for tonight, guys. I'll get this video downloaded and posted for you as soon as I can. Thank you very much, and good luck tomorrow.